You look like my dad.
Yeah. Do I look like Bosch? We had showings this morning. I couldn't take a shower. So I'm hitting the road to go to New York in a minute. So I wanted to pop my head in a little bit, go over some mindset, go over some training before we get into our X's and O's and get started for a brief weekend. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to spend some time at the New York office, do their training. We got a bunch of people invited. Last night we were at Maryland Dock. We had 8 guests, and I believe over 20 people in training. It's always fun, and I guess the people that were doing their meetings on Thursday night, and even when we were doing our meetings on Tuesday night. And I say this with a little bit of tongue in cheek, but it's true. Okay? And I want you to write this down. Small meetings suck. Okay. So now that doesn't mean that I'm not excited to grow it. Okay. That doesn't mean that you can't take more personal attention and the grind of watching that sucker grow and grow and grow and grow and week after week, and you have 8 people, then 9 people, and 10 people, then 12 people, and then 15, and then 20, and then 18, and then 25. That part is fun, and looking back, growing a meeting and having the confidence that you can do it is very exciting. All that being said, small meetings suck. They suck. Right? I mean, you're in there, and I tell people all the time, when there's not enough people in a meeting, and I give them a visual, it literally sucks the life out of you. Think about where there's no air. It's a vacuum. It's gone. And so while we do a lot of X's and O's today, we're going to have a really good training today. I'm excited about some of the things that we have going on. Kind of highlight, obviously, Dante went out and had a significant client that you've been working on. I'm not going to steal your thunder and take the story, but for a few months, and went out and helped the team providing awesome service. And then Samir's going to go over Fegley. There's a bunch of people coincidentally have been texting me over the last few weeks about Fegley. And hey, Fegley. So he's going to teach you how to destroy Fegley, obliterate Fegley, right? Understanding crusade in group insurance, and where we live, obviously in the government, the home of the government. My dad worked for the government for 40 years. People, and I love my daddy. My daddy's my hero. Government people, they don't know what they do, but they know every benefit that they have.
Yes.
They don't know what they do, but they know all the benefits. And this is like I said, that's my dad. I'm not. He's my dad. They know their pension, and they don't understand what benefits they have, though. And they don't understand that private's always better than group. That private's always better than employer coverage. And you have to communicate it because people are attached to their group. Right? Like every day every meeting, every time in the op meeting, right? And some of you guys have sat in my op meeting recently. Well, maybe you did. I always do this thing, and I always talk about corporate America. Right? Who worked in corporate America before? Here? Or who had a salaried position with no overtime? You had overtime? Huh? Salaried position? Hourly? But no overtime? Okay. So for me, you had salary positions, Sophia?
Yes.
Who else? Jimmy Jam, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever work more than 40 hours a week?
No.
Never. Who's ever worked more than 40 hours a week at their salary position? Right? So, so what does that mean? So you're literally working for free.
Right.
Like, I have no value of my life and time. Like, I hate this job. It brings the majority source of all my misery in my life. and I still want to do it even if you're not paying me. I mean, how freaking stupid was I to literally work for free? And that's what people do. They work for free. Why the hell am I doing this? Yeah. As much as I hated my job, I worked for free, and I still was attached to my job. If you said something about my job, I got defensive. Like I was tricked. They Jedi mind tricked me. No, you love this job. Right? I mean, they talk about my job. No. My company's good. I see. Right? Like they have pride in it. And the funny thing is, the worst part about it is what? We have that employee mentality and we bring it here, which it couldn't be a worse of a mentality to have in Primerica. Right? That, well, if I'm not getting paid, this and that, even though that's a little opposite from before, and I want to show up late, I want to go early, I want to pretend to work, I want to say the right things, I want to pretend to be busy, and it just doesn't work. And then people are broke, right? But if you work hard, like you really work, and work in this business, I heard Matt on the phone, right? Work in this business the other day, you were talking to somebody, I don't know who you were talking to, but Mike Sharp coined this phrase, okay? Work in this business is what? You said it on the phone, now you don't know. What'd you say? Doing appointments and setting appointments. Okay? Mike Sharp was famous for saying that. Okay? Now, there might have been somebody that said it before him, but that is where I heard it all the time. He said, work in this business is doing appointments and setting appointments. Didn't I hear you say that on the phone?
I did.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not crazy.
I thought Samir coined the phrase.
Yeah. He's trying to trademark it. Samir's trademark. Primerica, I own it. I told you at one time I interviewed this person. You remember that? When I was going, we had the Citigroup brochure. Remember this story? So before, when we were part of Citigroup, the first part of our interview was explaining Citigroup, right? And they say Citigroup is that. We're the first $1 trillion company, this and that. And she looks at me, and she goes, wow. And we're in this little rinky-dink office. Just like grab her and she goes, wow, this is $1 trillion. All this? I was like, no. I live at home. We don't make any money. This is not about money. What's he saying in your interview, Jeff? All right. So let me just talk a little bit about some things. So let's talk about recruiting. Like I said, small meeting stuff. Okay. Why? We got, and this Maryland thing that we have going on. All the people are new. Okay, so they're all new. There's a void in leadership. So I believe everybody's kind of stepping up, right? Jim, doing a great job. I saw you, cornering your desk, closing them after that. So everything's working. Bringing in the, and it's just funny because it's just like we started in when we started. There's a kitchen, right? A big kitchen, right? Right. We're in the kitchen, and then you just hear other people trying to close, and it's just a little awkward. And you'll make eye contact, and like I'm looking at you. And then I'm trying to be all professional. Yes, go. And we just, it's fun. Okay, it's better than going in the office and then there's no, and then you come out and say they're not interested. No, you couldn't close it. You can say whatever you want, but we know what happened, right? When you're on Front Street, you got it's out there. We got we're gonna see right now. So Jim, she doesn't want to back down, and so and I'm like, I'm immature, you know that. And she's like, I promise, it's the funniest thing. Isn't that what happened yesterday? And the recruits between us, so she does it, she's like, what the heck? It's just so funny. But that's what's going on, right? And you kind of gotta, and like I had a guest out there, and he was just talking nonsense. I don't know what he was saying, And it was just, I was like, all right, man, everybody's watching. It's like 4 of us around the table. So I had to just like, it was just fun, okay? So I'm not saying, when I say the people are doing what they're supposed to do, okay? They're bringing guests. I mean, to have 20 people there and 8 guests is good. I mean, I don't know how many people were in the meeting, right? How many people?
I didn't take count,
but it's probably 20-some people, right? And they're all new, they're all excited, they all have unbelievable questions, great feedback, and to have 8 guests from 20 people, that's great. It's just small. And small sucks, okay? Now, why am I saying that? In order for you to get big, you have to be good at being small, but you gotta get out of the small thinking so quick, man. How do you, and this is kind of like, how do you know if you're a good recruiter? Okay, because you gotta take pride in being a great recruiter, being an excellent recruiter. Okay. Now I'll tell you, some of it is follow up. I think who said this? I don't know if Shay said it the other day or somebody said it. Somebody said it, and I don't know where you heard it, but this is a famous thing that people say. The fortunes in the follow up. Who said that? Did someone say that? In training, did you say that?
I said it the other day, but
okay,
I forgot what sales guy it's from. Maybe Tom Hopkins.
Yeah, the fortune is in the follow-up. I don't remember who said it, but I mean, Samir said it. But look, following up is huge. And I know you were talking about. You were talking about how my replacement, right? 18 months. When I had an office of fortunes and follow-up, and that's why I remember that, right? But you got, your first probably 4, 5, 6 times, you're not going to recruit that person. Okay, especially if they're good. It takes 10, Rick Susie, who has probably the number 1, if not number 2 or 3 hierarchy in the company, okay, had their top producers, Mark and Younger, and took them 30-some phone calls for 30! And they make $2 million a year, they have Neil Verifine, they have, the Chamorro, they have all those people are under the Youngers, right? And that came from somebody 33 times. 33 phone calls, 33 pop buys, 33 this new presentation, 33 this new custom advantage product that we have will change your life. 33 times you try to recruit somebody. Okay? So follow-up is very important. Overcoming objections, being able to close, hey, I don't have time. Is this sales? How can I do it? How do you get your clients? How do you get your market? This and that. We know, and I know that we say this, and it's true, right? A question, it's nothing more than a request for more information. They're interested. They're interested. Now, their interest level might be 5 or 10%, but it can be brought up if you answer the question properly. So you got to be able to overcome objections and close. You got to be great at it. Presenting, right? Presenting the information, and then running the numbers, right? And when I say running the numbers, okay, and I know you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time. Know the numbers, accept the numbers, run the numbers. When it comes to recruiting, look, get over the fact most of the work you are going to do is going to be fruitless. Most of your hunts are going to result in not getting a kill. Maybe 50, 60%, 70%. Most of the recruits are not going to get licensed. Most of your calls aren't going to call you back. And some people, Jed, they just can't that blood on their hands, they can't swallow. You're not ready to recruit. But for me, okay, my experience in Primerica, okay, which, you guys know my track record. Number 1 below RVP, number 1 RVP, number 1 RVP promoted. We had a 3-month contest, 3 times you do it every 6 months. Number 1 at MIT, number 1 back at MIT. you know, MVP at SVP, MVP at NSD, and I know I'm getting my butt whipped, but still MVP, right? I mean, it's nice face, nice play. You know, it's like the All-Star game, right? They pick teams. I think Al Horford was the last pick of the top 20 players, right? That's me. Okay, I'm the last pick. Right? We got you. Come on. You know, that's me. Of the top 20, I'm the last pick. Okay, so that's kind of where we are. Now, we're going to move up. Okay, so I'm not happy where we are, but, you know, that's where our hierarchy is. That's where we are as a group. In my experience, the best recruiters, okay, the best recruiters, write down what you think it is. No, there's a lot. It's a very, very general question. I mean, the very best. The best of the best. What do you reckon?
Insane people.
One market. I will kill
Yeah, I did. I'm not going to contradict myself. So I appreciate you guys listening.
You said that before in musical jobs.
Anybody have anything different? What? Patience? Patience? Okay. You get a recruiter?
Just give me a shot.
Just get through. I think it's stuff.
recruited prosecuted.
Good. So, okay, obviously you need all those skills, okay? And recruiting one-on-one is important. Do you have something you want to say? Okay. Like if you look at the leaders bulletin, okay? And I'm talking about the best recruiter, like the builders. The people that are recruiting 50 and 100 people a month, they're recruiting 10 people in a day. Okay, their teams. They use their meetings. They use their op meetings. Okay. Oh, Matt got a recruit. Matt didn't get no recruit. Matt used an op meeting, I got a recruit. And I didn't get a recruit. I used a bunch of people, and a guy in his warm market brought 3 friends, and he sat right next to him, and they got recruits. Samir says, I got 5, Samir and his team, right? And obviously Caleb and this, he got 5 recruits on Tuesday, right? From what? He put them in a meeting, man. Peter the other day had 7 people in a meeting, get a couple recruits, right? Like, these small invites, and that's okay. Look, it starts with 1 or 2, okay? But you guys got to start getting 3 to 5 people out to the meetings. When I recruited 800 people in a year, we had 40 guests a week at the op meeting. Now, all of us, yes, we were doing a lot of daytime activity, a lot of phone calls, steaming people, overcoming objections, waking up with recruiting in the morning, getting them to the office during the day, because if they're at home, they were doing nothing. But the common denominator of every big recruiter, every one, triple-digit recruiters, they have crazy op meetings. Now, some of them have them during the day, and they might have 15, 20 people. Some of them have them at night. Some have them on Saturday morning. But you know what we did? And this is what I did, what a lot of you guys understand, you were part of this. We had crazy weeknight op meetings. Like crazy. Saturdays was good, but it was a little chill. But our weeknight op meeting, it was game night. It was under the lights, the bright lights. It was just like, and I know it's hard to get people out. I promise you. People give you all the excuses. They don't want to drive. They don't want to come. They need sitters. It's Tuesday night. I just had a long day of work. I was really sick at work. But the people that can get people out, especially those weeknights, they run big recruiting. And that happens, Luis, by you having 3 to 5 every week. And look, I know you guys know me who I am now, right? Is like me 3.0, right? You don't know me as 4GS iPhone, right? But the op meeting, I own the op meeting. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. I mean, hey, like people, I'm just telling you, if I'm the regional leader, okay, like you. like you. These guys know every week 4 or 5 guests. Every week. Is that not true? I mean, hell, 1, 2, 3, 3. I'm in training. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And we'd have a bunch of people with 3 and 4. Who had the most? Me. Every time. Every time. Like, I was so competitive about if someone had more guests than anybody, it didn't matter. Like, these guys are probably so scared if they actually had more than me, they'd tell their guests to come in. That's how much I was. Like, it was all the time. And it was if there was a big op meeting or a small op meeting, if there was 10 or 12 people, I remember one time I had the whole meeting. The entire meeting was me. Now, I know there probably weren't a lot, maybe 6 or 7. You know, my first time back, I came 8. But there, I mean, I don't know, 50 times I had 5 people? Like, literally 50. Think about that. In a 3, and I promise you, okay, maybe not 50, 25. Literally, I mean, these guys are here, they know. Like, I sold out to op meetings. Like, and you know, I was talking with Samir. Samir remembers this. Okay? Dante, you might remember this. Samir, what didn't sit in it, I would tell him. Because I was trying to recruit him, I'd tell him, right? So, when we had our op meeting, okay? So, you know the person that trained me was a guy named Mark, right? Some of you guys don't know him, for the most part retired now, whatever, but he'd do the op meeting, okay? And, like, we start at 7:30, okay? And like yesterday, I did the entire op meeting. We started right at 7:30, and I got done at 8:50, right? If someone does the first part, they go from 7:30 usually to around 7:55, 8 o'clock. I go from 8. I mean, the longest I'll ever go is what, 9? That's like the longest I'll ever go. Our op meeting started at 7:30. We would end at 10 o'clock. They would come out of the op. Like, it was so excruciatingly long, the meeting. Like, it was insane. Like, a 2.5 hour op. Like, imagine if I can't even think what I would talk about, because I go pretty long. Like, I go on tangents, I tell my story for at least 15, 20 minutes, and I go through a few slides. Imagine if I had an extra hour, and I still brought guests galore. Yeah, so people come out like, oh man, it's not going to be everywhere. Hey, you got to come. We didn't have this efficient, well-oiled machine. There wasn't a great environment that we had. But you know what? I sold out because I said, hey, this guy makes $200 grand a year, 200 grand. I was like, he's got total freedom. He does what he wants to do. He plays golf for 15, 20 hours a week. He's got at least the life I want, if not more. And I'm going to pack it out. Don't look. You're a good recruiter, fine. You want to be a great recruiter, you better pack up the op meetings. Like, pack them out. And you know what? We have different types of op meetings, right? We have our opportunity meetings, which are Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, whenever we do them, where it's a night meeting, stuff like that. We have Saturday, which is a different type of op meeting, but it's an op meeting. We also have an op meeting tomorrow, which is our new recruit licensing op meeting. I tell you, my new recruits, they get recruited at Ricky's class. I mean, it's a 2, 3, 4, 5 hour op meeting that I send people. You know, I got a good recruiter in Maryland, right? It's funny. Like, every week he's brought guests. Every single week he's brought guests. Sometimes 1, sometimes 2. Every week he brings people, right? And, you know, we've only been doing it for 3 weeks or whatever, so, you know, he's on the street, right? His name's Yusuf, real nice guy, right? And you know why I know how he's a good recruiter, Samir? Number one, obviously, he brings guests, and every time he wants to sit in the aisle. I'm like, yo, you've seen this. Get out, man. Because I don't like it, because I literally am going to, it's like you can press play. Yeah. I mean, the same jokes, right. The same stories, the same timelines. I mean, it's like basically word for word. Okay? So, like, I don't want to, like, you know, you don't want to show the magic trick, right? Like, you're like, yo, it's a great trick. You show it one time. You keep showing it, they figure out how you do it, right? So with the op meeting, I want to keep, like, this mysterious that I'm really awesome. Right? So I'm like, yo, get out of here, man. And he said, what? Like, he just wants to sit there. He wants to sit in the meeting every time with his guests. He's like, no, they're here. And he's like, okay, should I go? Because, like, I told him, I was like, hey, man, you know, Samir's going to prepare training. I want you to ask him some questions. He needs some help on what it would be important. Since you're one of the newer people, go in and ask him what you need to hear. And so this is before training, so he goes and asks me, and I go, and then he's sitting in my eye, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here, man? I told you just ask me. He's like, well, yeah, I would ask him. I was like, well, then go listen to what he's going to say. He's like, oh, okay. Right? He just wants to sit in the meeting. Because he's just all about the recruiting process. Like, he loves it. He just wants to say, he's like, no. Like, he like, pulled, there was no chairs because the room was full, right? And he pulls the chair up next to him, and he's just like sitting next to him. He just wants to recruit somebody. He doesn't know what's going on. Like, he just texts me, he's like, hey, can we figure out how the comp is? He doesn't know how the comp works. He does nothing. He just wants to recruit somebody. That's how we work. Just, hey, we're doing it. Let's do it with people. And he doesn't care that he's seen the same meeting over and over. He literally tries to sit in there every time. I'm like, man, this guy understands it. And that, I told him, I was like, he gets it. He's just like that recruiting talk. It just never gets over. It never gets, like if you're tired of the op meeting, you're freaking dead. If you're thinking about it, you want to start doing 20 recruits a month. You're dead, and like, I'm really excited, obviously, about some of the things that we have going on, but like, I was telling Samira, either last night when we were driving from Maryland, that, this Tuesday cohesion was a big meeting. Like, you understand how rare big meetings are? They're like endangered in Primerica. Only probably 50, 60 people have a meeting like that. And I know, like, we probably feel small and this and that, but there are not many offices that have a meeting like that. Primerica, it's not even what we have in Maryland, Sophia, or what I'm going to experience in New York tomorrow. Because it's like that with people that have 20 years experience. It's not a new meeting, right? There's still aspects of the new meeting that are fun because you see the potential. But it's just like, you remember the Sterling Law meeting, we'd be there, there's 21 people there. And they're all like, it's like American funds, they all have 20 years experience, right? I mean it. All of them. That's not what we have. We got something special. If you don't pack out that op meeting, you're going to miss 2018. Right? I was never like unbelievable. I freaking packed the meeting out. I didn't even know what I didn't know, that the meeting was not really a good meeting. I mean, I probably shouldn't go 2.5 hours. Probably should condense it a little bit and maybe have a second meeting, but it doesn't matter. Excitement, large numbers, bringing a bunch of people to meetings. So it brings me to my second point, which is the big event. Everybody see POL?
Yeah.
Huh? What did you see?
900,000.
Latest $900,000 earner. I love Dean Francis. Dean Francis is one of my best buddies, a hero. I'm like, we just went over 800. Christian David, 900. The newest 9 in New York is not, it's the comp. In any other state, she'd already be over $1 million. With certain bonuses, replacements, it's not as much as the rest of the United States. New York is very regulated. It's extremely difficult to make money in New York, okay? Especially for years. Okay? So April 13th and 14th, or 14th and 15th, what day is it?
13th.
13th and 14th. We have the company's newest $900,000 earner from the great state of New York. Business all throughout the city, right? You can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right, Donald? From the concrete jungle. You're pretty. I mean, look, I like, me, I'm a coast guy. I like the East Coast. I love the West Coast. Capri's gonna bring it. Okay, she is just all energy, all fire. $900,000 earner, gonna be it. And you're gonna say, man, I remember that big event that changed my whole business. It was right before Gurpreet Singh crossed over $1 million in income. And she came to our office. She came to Reston, Virginia to give it to us. Pull out all the stops for all the recognition, all the speaking. Gurpreet will be there. Bruce will be there. It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to have an awesome Friday night event, and then we're going to get ready for, to conquer the rest of 2018. But get your tickets, invest in your business. You guys, what, March what? 7th, 8th? It's March 8th. Huh? When is it? 9th. You're going to blurt it out. You got to be right. night. Alright, MVP, Rising Star, different types of recognitions that we're gonna do, personal premium, personal goods, and we have the numbers are coming up, right?
I just emailed it to one thing,
Personal
which I
what?
just revamped it for you.
Okay. Let me see. I'm gonna go over some of them real quick. Let's see, we got 30 days to go. These are our top 10 so far for personal premium. Okay, I'm not gonna. 5,400, Ian Smith. 5,400, Therese Rodriguez. 5,500, Ricardo Vargas. 5,600, Jennifer Lee. 5,700, Donald Mason. 7,300, Matt Peterson. 12,900, Gabe and Tanya. Gabe and Tanya, they're coming to our event. 13,000, T and Shay Felton. 13,800. Sophia Saeed and Ju Saeed, and 20,000 Sheila Bustamante. Okay. Let's see. Now I'm just going to read the base recruiters. Okay, with 7 or more, because we just ran them for base recruiters. So obviously there'll be different categories. Some are divisions, some are districts, some are regionals. But so with 7 base recruits or more. Josh Perez, Jimmy Jim, Miguel, Mama V, Sasha with 9, Otis with 10, Gabe and Tanya with 12, Matt and Tiffany with 12, Tara with 13, T and Shay 13, Kelvin McLean 15, Jennifer Lee 15, Sophia and Ju Saeed 23, Shondell and Mike 26, and Samir with 43. Oh, I haven't been categorized. Top 3 divisions: Mama V 8, Otis 10, Kelvin 15. Premium. Base shop: Ian Smith 6,800, Mama V 9,100, Kelvin McLean 11,000. Personal securities. Got some big checks coming in. Sheila Bustamante 100,000. Matt Peterson 138. Sophia Ju Oak 722,000. Now, do you get 500 that you just put in? You get some good stuff for that too. Those are big numbers. Base districts. Ooh, a little competition here. Therese, 5,400. Marilyn Harris, 4,200. Therese, 5,400. Donald Mason, 5,700. Miguel, 6,700. Tara, 7,300. I mean, Sheila is down to 20 grand. But you got a big month. Let's see. Up the ranks. All right, I think that's it. I don't know. I'm competitive out of it. For other people. I like to get stuff. Right? And I mean, yes, I like to applaud my teammates. I want to win. Right? I mean, I'll applaud you being number 2. All right. Everybody under me is fine. You're over now. But no, compete. Have fun with it, right? I mean, it's an event. It's a big event, right? You got to be a leader. You got to come early. You got to get people there. You got to, do the things that you're asking your team to do. You got to be excited to go across stage. You got to be the best version of you at the event. Right? Samir said something. I was passingly walking before the audience. It's like, look, how would you act if it was your meeting? Right? That's something that we grew up on. They always say that. How would you act if this is your meeting? How would you act if it's your event? How are you ever going to have an event if it's, like how would you act if it's your meeting? Right? Look, for years I was in a meeting. I didn't have my own. Now I'm not saying that you should probably eventually have one you know, we have a hierarchy and all that stuff, and that's your vision. But like I said, I sat in a meeting forever, and I brought guests, and I went to pastor school forever. You know, I collaborated all the time, and I just try to do the best RVP or SVP or whatever they ask me to do, I do. All right. What's that guy, that quarterback from Louisville?
Lamar Jackson.
And he's saying, and look, I like him. I think he's fun to watch, and he ain't no Michael Vick, but you know, they say he ain't no Michael Vick. He ain't that type. Yeah, he's good, but he ain't that. All right, there's only one. All right, but he's good, and I got a lot of respect for him. But he's saying, hey, you know, like he went out there and he's I'm not going to change position because he's a little size, and I'm not saying he should stick to his guns. If he's proud about that and being quarterback, he should be a quarterback, and that's cool. But they're saying he's a little undersized, but he might be able to play tailback or an option back or wide receiver. Okay, and so now teams are his draft stock is lowering, so that's not fair. He should do that, right? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we know what, right? If you gotta anything, you almost kind of have to always be willing to do different things. That's how you get opportunities, right? You know that. Look, I'm not. Good for him, and the guy's played. He's won the Heisman. Who am I? I'm just saying, generally speaking, a person that is willing to do more things, more versatile, gets more opportunities. Right?
Russell Wilson was that spring training for the Yankees.
Right. I mean, you know, you just never know, right? Like to learn to do different things. To you know, hey, no, I'm never going to play out of the shotgun. No, you might have to. No, I'm not going to play out of this formation. No, we can't run 2 tight ends, Belichick. No, that's Jumbo said all the time. Now everybody does it, right? You have, you know, part of us, like, you just got to, you know, it's your meeting. What are you going to bring to it? Look, I know I say this all the time, but after March and this month meeting in April, put it on your dates. This is going to be the best event we have. Okay? We'll have the most people there. It's going to be the most competitive, most exciting, the best recognition, and the speaker's going to be the best. What? Oh, yeah. So, all right, you ready, man? 12 grand in the night?
Money.
Well, maybe throughout. Right. But Dante, obviously, you know, big fundamental, Tim Duncan, extreme, that's what we call him. Right? We always call him Mr. Fundamentals, because always knows what to do, how to do it, and, you know, I mean, that's what makes us different than any other company. Any of those, you can go out and help one client. Now, he's going to go over some good stuff on how he did it. Just do it very simply, very proud of you. Let's give it up for the pilot, Dante Williams.
Morning.
So you talked about fundamentals and kind of knowing the technical aspect of the business. And when you're around for a significant amount of time, you get to learn a lot of that stuff, and you get the repetition, and you kind of know the product, and you know what's out there, and you know really how to overcome a lot of the things that we see out there. But what I did to get this, it kind of starts before the technical side, you know. So it was probably at the end of last year, sometime last year, and I just was evaluating kind of the people around me, like Samir and Shaq, and just seeing the success that they've had, and I'm not where they're at, but I've been around a significant period of time, so I just sat down with Samir and I just asked him some questions. I said, you know, what are some of the things that you notice, or some things that you see that I may be blind to, I may have a blind spot in, that you know, you can maybe open my eyes to. So he told me about a book to read. It was called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and he recommended that book because, you know, really just talks about thinking, right? Because everything that we have, everything that we achieve, it all starts with how we think. So I read the book and I took his advice and I listened to him, and it's funny that as I started to do some of the exercises and thinking and, you know, just visualizing about the things that I wanted to do and things I wanted to achieve, I started to get some phone calls. It's weird how that happens. That as soon as you start to do what you should be doing, then things start to open up. You know what it's like though? It's not magical or mystical when that happens. It's like if you're driving or if you get a brand new car and you've never seen the car before, this is the hottest car, you get the car, and then all of a sudden you're driving down the road and what do you start to see?
Same car.
This car's everywhere. So the cars just didn't magically appear. What happened was now your brain was open to seeing all those different, different cars because now your brain is unfiltered that aspect, right? See, we have all these senses that we're bringing in, that we're seeing, that we're hearing, and the brain has to filter all those things or else we'll just go crazy, right? From all the sensories that we're getting. But when it knows what to focus on, then it starts to open up your eyes to those different things. So, funny thing, I started to do some of the exercise, and then I started to get phone calls. And one of the calls was, hey, my husband left their job, and because she already had money with me, right? So he left his job, or the job left him, and there was some money there that we can help him with. So it was a little bit of a process. So that was one phone call. Another phone call. There's things that I haven't gotten yet, but these are just the calls that I got. But it's just like recruiting, right? You're not going to get it all at once, and there's numbers and ratios and statistics and all that. So, but this one actually, I've seen them several times and worked on it, and thankfully yesterday we were able to tie up everything. But it all came from the thinking, right? Thinking a certain way, and then that's when things started to happen. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the technical side, but I couldn't overlook that part. That you can really start to attract whatever you want when you start thinking a certain way and kind of putting that in the forefront of your mind. So I'm just going to talk a little. I'm going to simplify it a little bit, but I just want to talk about what he had. Not even everything, but I'm going to just talk about one aspect of what he had because the reality is how many people are not securities licensed, don't have their license yet, right? So. One of the first ways to attract that into your life is to get licensed. You're not getting any of those phone calls because you don't even have the license yet. How could you, right? You're not going to get those phone calls. You're not putting it out there. So you have to get the license first. So that's why I'm going to really simplify everything first, just to give you some of the one concept. So you can,
I got you.
So you work for a corporation. Is this all coming up at once?
Yeah. You want to come back one at a time?
Right.
Yeah, no problem.
So he worked for a corporation, and he had a 401k. So what's a 401k? What's a 401k?
It's a savings.
And who offers it?
The corporation.
Right. So the corporation offers the 401k where you can contribute, they'll match you. So he had that, but he also had a pension, right? So, this is your first time here? Second here on Friday too? Okay. What's your name? Antoine? Okay. You know what a pension is? Okay, so how does it, what's a pension or how does that work? Right, so there's defined contribution, right? And then there's a defined benefit. So the defined contribution is like a 401k where you're putting in the money, and then the defined benefit is like a pension where you work for a period of years, and you're going to get a percentage of that for the rest of your life. So you had both. So what I'm going to talk about is the pension, how that worked, and what are some options that he had with that. So the pension portion is he could get a percentage of his income. I think what the number was let's call it $900. But there are options that he could take advantage of if he used an annuity that would give some of that same benefit of providing income, but it offsets some of the negative aspects of having a pension as well. So the first thing is this word right here, annuitization, right? So pension and annuity is virtually the same thing, you know, because an annuity, you can do this as well, but there's options where you don't have to annuitize. So what this means is you're giving up control of the money to the company, and they're going to give you a stream of income for the rest of that person's life. But what's kind of funny about what I just said? Yeah, so you give up control of the money forever when you annuitize. So a pension works that way, where you don't have any lump sum of money anymore. The only thing that you have is the stream of income for the rest of your life, or you can choose it for a survivor as well. But when you have an annuity, you could still set it up to where you have what's called a living benefit, which is still going to give you income for the rest of your life. But if you really wanted to, you could access that money. There's more liquidity when you have an annuity. So let's say they were giving you that same $1,000 a month, but you wanted to pull out more. Can you do that with a pension? No, because you've given up control of the money to where you can't pull out anymore. But if you had that same stream of income, if you really wanted to, if there was an emergency, if you had to, you could pull out money. So there's more liquidity with that money when you have an annuity. So does that make sense to everybody? You know, I'm trying to just make this as simple as possible, just so you can get a couple points. So the next thing is survivorship. So with a pension, you can have survivorship, which means you can have that money, that stream of income, go to a spouse. But is that going to be free? No. It's not. You're going to have to pay for that. So in order to get the wife or the spouse to have 50% of that, or even 100% of that, there's a fee associated with it. A good rule of thumb is it's about 10% of your income stream. So if you're making, let's say it was $4,000 a month, then in order to have that survivorship, what would the fee be? $400. So you're not getting $4,000 a month anymore. In order to have that survivorship option, you would only be getting 6. So that's how it works if you want to have the survivorship with the pension. But with an annuity, you can have a joint option as well, where that income stream could continue on to the spouse. And if you looked at a comparison, this is going to be a lot cheaper than having that survivorship option with a pension. Here's the other thing. Okay, so now you're paying $400 a month if you have the pension, so you're only getting $3,600. What if the spouse dies first? There's no survivorship beyond that. So you've been paying $400 a month, but now there's no real benefit that you're really getting from that, because the spouse is already deceased. What if the primary dies and the spouse dies within a couple months? Is that worth it? No. So what if you looked at the annuity? Well, if the spouse died first, well then that doesn't really matter because there's still income. And if there's still money after that, then that money would still go to somebody else, whoever the contingent beneficiaries are. So there's actually survivorship because remember, you still have access or control to some extent of the lump sum of money. Does that make sense? The survivorship, why it's better to have that be able to transfer to their heirs? So this kind of goes along with that. So there's a death benefit option. I kind of already touched on it. So that income, so there's an option. So let's say they get that income, they're getting that income stream, and then the primary person dies. Well, there's an option that they can choose. They can either choose to get whatever's left as far as the lump sum of money, or they can continue the income stream. It really just depends on what they want. And there's some other additional options as well, but that's the main thing, is they're going to have options as far as what to do. And then the last thing is you can have some growth potential of your income. See, a pension, unless they have a cost of living adjustment, it's pretty much going to be flat, where you're not going to really get any growth of your income stream from there. But when you have an annuity, you're going to have your income, it has the potential of increasing, but it doesn't have any possibility of going down. So it can only go up, it can never go down. Which is good when you think about inflation, right? The cost of living goes up every single year, but if you can have some potential for growth, that can offset that, which you don't get with that. So these were just some of the points that I talked about with them. There was a number of questions and concerns that he had, but this was a big deal right here because we were comparing what his company was going to offer him versus what he can do outside of that. All right, so any questions about that? So then the last thing I wanted to just cover is how compensation works. Anybody know how compensation works in securities if you're not licensed? Do you know?
No, that's real fun.
Right? You do?
Yeah.
You do? I'm going to go over it. I'm just, because if you don't understand how it works, I mean, there's no, you're just not motivated, I think, to get the license necessarily because, I mean, you just don't know. It's just like, if you understood what the possibilities were, now you hear the numbers that are thrown out there when Sophia gets these big rollovers or Samir does, but has it really worked? So the amount of money, now this is really regardless of whether it's mutual fund or an annuity, but I'm going to just use the annuity example. So the amount of money, so in the case of what I did yesterday was $300,000 times the dealer reallowance, and then for an annuity that's 5%. So that just means how much of the money is going to Primerica, right? And then it's multiplied times your contract level. So if we took the $300,000 times 5%, so that's what the Primerica collected was $15,000. So then Primerica pays us at our contract rate. So at an RVP, it's 62%. So just on the annuity portion is the $9,300, right? Yeah, we're doing that coffee, right? Not much. So that's just on the annuity portion, right? Go ahead. They are. That would be nice if that was 110, right? Right. So by the way, where do you find this at? Do you know where? Right, where? Right, so there's a tab, I think it's on the left side, under POL Home, and if you drop down, it says compensation. And under compensation, you can look at life, you can look at security, you can look at bonus, you can look at stock, you can look at long-term care, you can look at whatever else, PLPP, everything's there, right? So that's how you find. Now some of it's a little convoluted to really decipher, but I think this is a good summary of how this works. So, what if you're a district leader? Any districts in here? Right? So district leader, you do that same thing, still $5,000. Right? I love life insurance. But how many life sales is that as a district leader? Let's say it's 500. As far as cash, I mean it's 10. No. How many is it? You mean 10? A little bit. 11? So 11 sales where you could do it in one. Is there money around here too? Do people have rollovers? Is this not the DC metro area where people are working for government contractors every 3 to 5 years they have to change the contract? And what happens to that 401k?
Gotta move it.
Right? Probably still at their old job, right? We could talk to them about maybe these different options that we have available to them, and you can make $5 grand. And add the 10 live sales that you're doing on top of that as well, and make 10 grand as a district leader. You could do that, right? So that's the comp, right? So I really want it to be, like I said, real simple today. I don't want to get into a lot of the excessive details because the way I started to learn all this stuff was just pieces at a time, like a building block. You know, if you just kind of just hear everything, you're not going to retain everything. But if you can just get little pieces at a time, then you can start to add on to all that, and then you can have a complete picture of, you can sit with somebody that is very technical, that have a lot of, I probably sat with them, a lot of times we'll say it only took 2 hours, but this took 2 hours a shot, and I probably sat with them 5 times. Just because he always had questions, well, what about this? Hey, can you run this again? I want to see, hey, I have this spreadsheet that I did. Can you show me something that's similar to the way in the format that I have it in? I will for 12 grand. I'll spend a little bit of time and make it so you can visually understand it. Was it worth it? But I wouldn't be able to do that without the small pieces that I was getting at a time. Knowing the difference between a pension and an annuity, and knowing what the living benefits are, and knowing the compensation, right? Knowing that it's going to be worth it, for me to do that. So that's all I had. Any other questions or any other comments or anything else? Go ahead.
The other reallowance, is it always happens?
For an annuity, it is. For a mutual fund, it depends on how much they're investing. So as they invest more, then the dealer reallowance goes down. It's called break point. Right. So as they invest more money, then the fee for them is lower as far as that front end fee, and then in turn that fee to us is lower as well as they invest more. So, like for example, there was 200 that was in the mutual fund as well, so it was 5 total. So for the mutual fund, I got paid like $3 grand. Right? So it just works out that way. So, but you just have to understand what the best thing is for the client, because we get paid more money there doesn't mean we put all the money there. Right? We still have to do what's best for them based off of their needs. So his goal and his concern was having some income, and he wanted his mutual funds to continue to grow for a little bit, and then start to pull that income out later, because his wife is still going to be working for another 4 or 5 years or so. So that has a little bit more time to kind of sit there and grow. She's still funding her retirement, and then they can start to turn that into income a little bit later. So she was a recruit a while back, and her husband. So it all goes back to what? Doesn't it always? Funny thing how that works. Right. What else? All right, so Samir's gonna go over banking, is that right? Yep. All right, so let's give it a
All right.
So before I forget, Shaq's gonna be out of town tomorrow, so just for leaders, we can get maybe on a group meeting or something and we'll figure out what we're gonna train on tomorrow, just be very organized and prepared for that. Obviously, you wanna give people a class, so the last minute people that we can get in there, talk to Rob now, and make sure that you guys Venmo the money, and it's gonna be, I'm planning on having a good amount of people tomorrow personally, and there's the team, so it's a great meeting. Let's talk about Fegley. Fegley, Shaq said a couple people have been asking him about this, so I love talking about anything government benefits because that's the federal government is the largest employer in the United States. And here in Northern Virginia and DC and Maryland, you're gonna run into, if you have a big team and you guys are on a lot of appointments, you're gonna run into a high concentration of federal employees, okay? So the way that I got introduced to federal benefits was my dad worked for the EPA, and I had just started in Primerica, and I would ask him a bunch of questions about his benefits, and one day he came home and he said, this is our manual, okay? So when I first started was, 12 years ago, it wasn't, the internet, not everything you did, there wasn't even PDFs, that stuff didn't exist. So he literally brought a printout of the manual from his entire benefits. It was this thick. And I just kept it in my room and in my bathroom, and I just went through the whole thing, right? I just sit there 5-10 pages at a time, and I went through the entire thing. And a lot of it was irrelevant, things that had nothing to do with what I could sell a client or anything I could compete with, but it was just understanding how those benefits work. And then I would use bits and pieces of it with clients. Then it came to a point to where I would ask the trainee, where does the client work? They would tell me the government, and I would just replay these conversations in my mind of all the different benefits. And then when I went and sat in front of the client, I would say, oh, so you must have this, and you have this. Do you have this one or this one? Do you have this? And right away, I earned instant credibility, right? So I put a lot of work in to learn this stuff, but it has made me an unbelievable amount of money. And I've always been like that, where I've had a desire to, when I knew that something would be helpful in the business, I had a desire to master it, learning. I put a lot of personal time in. I would call around everyone and ask as many questions as I could. I would research things. And I was always into re-explaining things. So when something was explaining to me, I'd find people to re-explain it. And that's the way I am. If I can explain something 3-4 times, then it starts to sound good after that, and I understand that, right? The first time I explain something, usually not to a client. I explain it many times over. So today the topic is Fegley, right? So for somebody that's brand new, what's your name? Antoine? Fegley is the federal government's group life insurance program. Okay, so if you work for a corporation, sometimes they offer you life insurance to all the employees. You are part of a group, so they call it group life insurance. You get a group discount. Usually there's no underwriting. The one that is for the federal government is called Fegley, so this acronym stands for Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, okay? So this should be a 100% close if somebody has this, okay? It should be a 100% close if someone has it. So we're gonna break down how it works, how we close it, okay? How I talk about it. We're gonna look online at their website, see how the website describes it, and you guys will have all the tools that you need to go in there and kill it. Fegley also historically has got me the biggest checks because it's so expensive. When you sit with someone that's a little bit older and they're still insurable, they can write you a $500 a month check and feel like they're getting a deal because in Fegley they're paying maybe $800 a month, right? So this is something, Jam, you want to learn this, okay? And it's so simple, right? So just some basics about this. Okay? Within Fegley, there's a few different things. There's option A, B, and C. Okay? And some of you guys know this stuff too. Correct me if I say anything that's not accurate. Right? So option A is what? Basic. Right? So option A is basic, and basic will give you 2 times your income, 2 multiples of your income. And I don't explain this to clients. Usually I'll just say it's 1 times your income or 2 times.
So basic is just basic. Option A is like an extra burial policy.
That's what I thought it is. It's not basic.
Yeah.
So I don't even talk about option A, right? I just talk about basic. So basic is going to be 2 times income, where 1 times you pay, and the other 1 time multiple is free. Then what happens at a certain age, this part drops off, right? And then you just have 1 times. The thing about basic insurance is that it's a level cost. So it's actually not a bad thing. If you can have, let's say you make 120,000 and in the beginning, they'll give you 240,000, right? Where you pay for half, they pay for half, maybe the one times is $17 and the other part is free, then at some point, half of it will drop off, and then you just carry the one time and you're paying 17, and it'll be 17 for the foreseeable future, so there's no arguing there, right? The only arguing with basic is, Luis, we're just underinsured. So I rarely ever run into a client that only has basic. The argument with FEGLI is not the basic insurance, because that is not a rising cost. It's a level cost. It's very cheap. It's like most other group life insurances where it's, it can be seen as a good deal. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now, option B is where things get funny, right? Because option B will give you up to 5 multiples of your income. This is the portion we're competing against, and then C is family insurance, which we don't really compete against that. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'm just going to isolate option B, and this is what I want to compete against. I don't want to compete against your basic, because your basic is, number one, it's going to get cut in half at some point. They're going to take away the 2 times and make it into 1 times, right? And it's very little. I want to compete with this extra chunk. So when we sit with clients, we want to know, the first question is, how many multiples of your income do you have? How many multiples did you choose? You can get up to 5 times your income. Now, what are we hoping that they chose? 5, right? Because that means they have the most coverage, and that's going to be the biggest spikes in increases as far as the biggest spikes in cost over time. Now, if they have 1 multiple, 2 multiple, 3 multiple, it's going to be less competitive, but it's still, there's still going to be a point here in why they should make a change. Again, most people you meet within a good market, because they started out younger in the government, they just pick 5, because it's a lot cheaper when you're young. Okay? So let's bring up the website. This is how I bring it up. I take out my iPad, and I either get on their Wi-Fi or I connect it to my phone. And then I go to,
Hold on.
okay. All right, so what I do is in Google, I put in FEGLI calculator. Right? Then you can see OPM stands for Office of Personnel Management. So this is who manages the benefits for all federal employees, including the military. Right? And I always point out to the clients that, look, this is right from your website, that's why it's .gov. Very powerful to explain this on their own website versus you drawing things out. And I do this right in front of the client as soon as I know they have FEGLI. Sometimes now what I'll do is, depending on who it is, I'll say, look, what I'm about to show you, I'm just telling you, 100% of people make a change after I show this. Okay, so don't get upset with me, I'm just telling you, this is how it works. Most people don't know this, but 100% of people make a change. So I put that seed in their mind to kind of build it up. Now, we go to FEGLI calculator, we click on that, right? Now, what's it asking for? We scroll down, and it's asking for very basic information. Number 1, we're gonna put name. So Tom, so you can put whatever you want in there. All right? Now, the annual, again, it's rare that, I'm not trying to make it seem like I sit with big clients or whatever, but if I sit with a federal employee, I mean, usually they are making 100. You know, unless you're sitting with someone who's federal, but they're like a receptionist. I mean, the federal government, the average income is much higher than a normal job, right? So let's go ahead and put 100 in there, okay? Now, here's the thing about this. Bring this drop down. The increases are going to start happening at around 45 years old. So if you're sitting with a 20-year-old or a 20-year-old not no longer in the government, but 25-year-old maybe new to the government, federally, it becomes a little bit tougher sell because the increases don't happen until 45. So I do want to prepare you for that. If you're under 45, it is going to be a level cost. The increases happen after that. So this is a really good sell with someone in their upper 30s, lower 40s, and then obviously mid-40s. It's common sense, okay? When it starts to go here, that's where you're going to see the biggest increases. So we'll go ahead and choose 45 to 49. So we're hoping that the client is 40 and up. Now, we're gonna say that they get paid monthly. So the numbers we get, this is a little trick, right? The numbers we get, we don't have to multiply by 2 or times by 26 divided by 12. It'll just give us clean numbers. So you make 100 grand, we have your name, you make 100 grand. And here's another thing. If I just meet someone, I'm 10 minutes into this, and then I figure out they have FEGLI, am I gonna be like, what's your annual? No. Sometimes a little too early for that, okay? And this is the common sense stuff that I feel like not everybody knows, right? Because they just might get caught off guard, they might get uncomfortable, and it could ruin everything. So let's say, look, I mean, let's say someone makes 100 grand, and what would you say? I don't even ask their age. I say, what would you say you're in between? And then they'll choose one. They won't even say their age. They'll choose one that's in between. So we do this monthly, okay? Like I said, I'm not worried about A and C. If they ask, I say, look, this is a very small benefit. We can even read about it once we click through. This is a little bit of coverage on your family. Right now, I just want to talk about this. You said you had 5 multiples. So 5 multiples of 100 is how much? $500,000, right? 500,000. Are you a postal employee? No. Let's hit calculate. Now, basically what we're doing here is we're just confirming the information. So you look at it, you have name, income, blah, 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 nothing's changed, we hit next. All right, now let's look at this. Should I?
This one.
All right, so what do we have here? We have basic pay, 100,000. We have coverage of 602 because they took the basic insurance and they added it to the 500,000, and then the cost per pay period is 109. And it's because we put pay period monthly, we know it's 109 a month. We don't have to do any math. So they're paying 109 a month for 600,000. Let's say that they're 45 years old. Now let's read through this. Let's go down. Basic coverage, again, 1 times your income, 102,000. Additional multiples 5, that's 500, which gives us a total of 600. It's saying that the option B, right, the basic is 33, and option B is $76 a month. So they're paying $76 a month for 500,000. Not bad, okay? Let's go down. So here they're just talking about basic, 45 and over, right? The extra benefit is gone, no big deal. Now we get to option B. This is where the whole selling point is showing the client that, this is how I say it, every 5th multiple of your age, right? So anytime you hit an age that's basically divisible by 5, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, right? Every time that happens, look what happens to your cost of insurance for that 5 multiple chunk. So right now, it's 76, then it goes to 119. In 10 years, you're paying 216. Right now, you're 45. When you hit 55, it's 216. What if you're going to be working until you're 65? Let's say you say, I want to retire at 67, it goes to 585. So what we call this, Mr. and Mrs. Client, in the insurance industry, we call this a 5-year renewable, and it looks like a staircase where every 5th multiple of your age, it doubles in cost. So what we recommend here is that we get a level term policy. And that way we save money on all these increases in the future. Now, if I quote someone, and let's say that it comes out to $100 a month, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Is it more than 76? Yeah, it's 25, but how much are you gonna save in 5 years? You're gonna start saving 20 a month. In 10 years, you can see how much you're gonna be saving. $100 something a month. Now, obviously, we wanna know that they're insurable. But 45-year-olds, statistically, they will be insurable. Maybe they can even get preferred. I mean, you can destroy. If you sit down with someone in their 50s, it's unbelievable how much, I mean, because this is only 100. Some of these people are making 120, 130, 140, 150. And the cost of insurance is super high. All right, so Miguel, where's Miguel? What questions do you have? I just Googled it and went through a form. You understand that?
Yeah,
Okay. What questions do you think someone might have? Jen?
They might just say, well, the government doesn't have state.
Okay. No, I like this one. So the government is the most stable. It's through, I trust the government. Who is underwriting this insurance? I don't know if it says it at the bottom here. I think it's New York Life. I think MetLife does the annuities. Is it?
It is MetLife.
It is MetLife that does the insurance as well. Let me
I think if
see.
you go to the Begley homepage.
The overview?
No.
Handbook?
It says it somewhere. I always thought it was New York Life that did and then MetLife did the annuities, but I could be wrong. Either way, go on there and look at it. The point is that, is it insurance that's backed by the government? No. It's just, they're just using an insurance company.
Most people that you encounter, they're paid every 2 weeks, twice a month. I know it's per pay period, right? What are you seeing out there?
What do you mean?
Well, but it's paid period, so that cost could be double if it's.
No, so what I tell them to do is change the pay period to monthly. That way the number that we see, they don't have to do it.
Gotcha.
What other questions do you have?
Well, a question you have here is, what happens if I leave the government? So I take a with me?
That's a big one, right? So with Begley, there's what? No option in retirement, except these really steep increases, okay? And then when you retire, they let you take the basic amount with you, but it starts to decrease. You have to look at it. I mean, it gets complicated, but it decreases a few percent a month, right? So I think it's like a 2% decrease in the basic insurance per month. So that's about 25% a year, and then after 4 years, it's phased out altogether. So what we say is there's no real option in retirement.
Is that on the website as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Where do you kind of incorporate this when it comes to, the 4 ways of insurance? You go through this basic thing on group and then say.
This
by
is
the way,
a whole standalone thing on its own.
Okay, but when do you actually go through that? Like at what point, like, in the meeting?
Okay. So when I ask them what type of insurance they have and they say they have Begley, I just go right to this.
Right.
That's it.
You know, if
I don't
they say they
educate
have
them on
to work.
group as a whole or anything like that. I'll just go right to this.
And then you go back into cash value insurance, different types of life insurance.
Yeah. One time I clicked on that, yes, I didn't see a huge difference. There is some subtle difference there, but I don't know exactly what it is.
I think they just pay the whole basic amount or something like that.
So I think it is something like that too.
The multiples would be the exact same.
Right, right. That's the main thing. The part we're competing against, the increases are the same whether they're put on or not.
We don't even keep the basic and we just raise the initial.
Pretty much. Anything else?
Just like
This isn't 40 minutes.
Oh.
This is 5 minutes.
Do you even like educate them, like you said, but do you even like literally go to that? Or is it pretty much ceremony?
It depends on, you know, how they're responding to me, you know? You could go through the cash value and all that stuff, and sometimes it's good to do that, but right now, I think I'll pretty much have it right there. You know, so then I'll go into how much do you need and done and all that stuff.
It is MetLife, by the way, that everybody.
Huh?
It is MetLife.
It is MetLife? Okay. That's MetLife. So I guess MetLife is everything. They do their annuities and they do their insurance.
Hey, Samir, what's this, because it says 602, what's that extra 2,000 in the coverage?
It's their basic, plus 2,000.
Gotcha, okay. Gotcha.
Annual income plus 2,000.
Thank you.
So when they're younger, you'll see an extra benefit of the same amount, right? And it'll be no extra cost, but you can see that this client is 45, that part fell off. So sometimes with a younger client, you'll see that the coverage is a little bit higher than basic. But again, February does not as much selling point with someone in their 20s and early 30s because the increases don't happen until way later on.
Hey, Samir, let's say you sit down with me and my wife, you find out I work for the government and I have equity, how do you intro it? What do you say?
So I'll say, are you familiar exactly with how Federally works? I mean, have you looked into long-term how it works? And I want to know how much they know about it. I've never, ever, ever met somebody that said, yes, I know that my multiples go up dramatically over time. I mean,
Let's
no
say
one
I
says
say,
that.
I say not really, then what do you say?
I said, okay, well, this is something that we see a lot because in the area, predominantly people work for the government. So honestly, I'm doing this on a nightly basis, and you'll be shocked at how many people don't know exactly how this works. So what I want to do right now is I want to go right to your benefits website, and I want to show you how they explain how your benefit works. So let's just go to that, and I'm going to just put in some general information, and then I go through and I say, this is the issue with this. And you see how this can be problematic long-term, right? So usually what we advise in this situation is if you just get a level term, you can avoid all these increases in the future. Plus, if you were to ever leave the government, let's say you want to go to the private sector or whatever, you don't have to worry about losing your coverage. And then I just do it that way.
Sorry, one more question. So there's Becky, but there is another kind of life insurance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
It's very simple.
okay, but it seems to be like less expensive and more.
Still goes up.
Calvin, you just saw it, what happened?
It's exactly the same. I think it's actually a little more aggressive than this. But the problem that we ran into is that I couldn't find like a calculator or anything, so we had to log into his. But once you log in, it shows them. And it literally, they were like, I think they're like 35, but by the time he became 40, it was gonna be $500. So, and right now he's only paying like $35 for him and his wife. Yeah.
35 to 500.
Yeah. It was literally in like 7 years.
On the website, it doesn't tell you.
It doesn't take.
Only the government.
No, but the reason I asked you that, Samir, is that's one thing Mark taught us, and he was really good at this. He'd always ask, you know how your benefits work? They always say, no, it's like, I'm an expert in it. Or say something like that, I review it on a daily basis. Yeah, that's just one thing he always would say. He'd be like, oh, well, you know what, actually, I'm an expert in government retirement benefits, and then you pull it up. And you know, it always depends on how they, and usually government people are gonna be very proud about their benefits, and then when they say they don't know it, or they know that you're gonna look at it, then you're really gonna discover they don't know it, so they're really gonna be on their heels. So you just have to tread lightly, but create that doubt, and then, you know, they'll be proud about it, and then they don't realize it goes up.
That's what I've learned over time. You know, when I was like a Josh young, you know, I would think that the worse it was, the more excited I would get in front of the client, and I'd get animated, and I would get aggressive, and I'm not taking into consideration, you know, that they may feel bad about it, or they may feel almost like their intelligence has been insulted or whatever. So now I just make them feel as good as possible, you know, that, look, most people of intricacies, and, I do this on a nightly basis, and most people don't understand this, but I'm telling you, everyone that I show this, they make a change, and let me show you why. So I kind of build it up, and then I go through it, and I talk softer, and I don't raise my voice, and I'm not leaning forward, right? I've learned all these things over time, that just stay calm, present the information, they'll come to the right decision, but you start getting all hyper, then they get a weird energy for that, so you have to always lean back.
Do you actually see their policy once you go on the website?
No, this is all you need. Anything else you want to go over before we leave?
Class tomorrow.
Class tomorrow, top turnout tomorrow. Gotta have a big day. Tomorrow's like the 10th of the month. March. This is a transitional month, man. First 90 days of your first quarter, right? So first quarter is closing out. That's how important this is.
Oh, yeah. And next Saturday, Christian David's going to be at our office.
Oh.
So, at a bunch of appointments, we'll have a special incentive for the week. So, tomorrow, Christian will be here. We'll all be here. It's going to be a huge event next Saturday, March 17th. So, pack it out tomorrow, set a bunch of appointments. We're going to have a 1 week incentive. And we got the iPick Black Panther next Saturday night. A lot of great stuff.
All right, team on three. 1, 2, 3.